Do you want a crystalline pocket monster? Have you said no go to Ho-Oh? Are you through Gia with Lugia? Is it too soon to welcome Suicune?
Yeah, I said Suicune. Look at the Japanese spelling, bro.
Moreover, do you want to buy the same game you just bought for Christmas 2000 with some new box art and the chance to feel superior on the playground with a bespoke sparkly blue game cartridge? If you answered, "What the heck are you talking about, Mothy?" to any of these questions, I'm sorry, let me disambiguate things for us. Pokemon Crystal is Game Freak's Generation 2 cash grab follow-up to Pokemon Gold and Silver versions, where the developers tweaked like 100 lines of code, designed some new sprites, and sold millions. It released in the last good summer the world would ever experience in 2001, nestled between the releases of Shrek and 9/11. Apparently, by units sold, Crystal is the least successful mainline game to date. The world just wasn't yet accustomed to the tweak and release formula that Pokemon would go on to farm free money with for decades. Gosh, this started out pretty negative. Do I even like Crystal version? Honestly, we're here to find that out together. Hop in. Hello, I'm Mothy, Jimothy for long. Today, I'm taking y'all through Pokemon Crystal in a retrospective light to answer the question, is Crystal version worth playing if you've already played Gold or Silver? It definitely made changes. Upgrades, downgrades, and side grades. Steep grades. Retrogrades. I hate a long intro, and this one's already gotten weird, so let's get a playthrough rolling and I'll talk over version differences as we go. And of course, I am so grateful for every interaction on this video, including subscriptions if you enjoy the content and want to help me succeed. For the first time, I'm going to plug my Discord server as well. It's a safe space for brain rot, and I'd love to have you there. Links are below. Thanks, y'all. Let's make like Yellow Wolf and roll. Off the bat, Crystal welcomes us to the 21st century with the option to choose our gender on character creation. That is 1 point for Crystal already. My philosophy on these runs is to be a Jim Carrey style yes man and take the option if it's presented, at least the first time, so I do make a female character. And what else could we name a female Mothy but Mother? Mother's mother has a house guest in Crystal, and Professor Elm has a new little laptop desk. They snuck these tiny changes in New Barktown to make us feel like the whole game is going to be tweaked, but these cute new details dry up fast. I grabbed Cyndaquil as my starter, only because my rival having Feraligatr is going to work better for my team comp long term. Welcome this limp matchstick to the team for now. Now, a lot of y'all don't appreciate how I disrespect my starter Pokemon. What? That was the end of the sentence. It's still optimal to begin your run on a Monday night at like 11:30 p.m. for berry min-maxing right into Pink Ribbon, but I did that whole song and dance in Gold. This time, we're free to snack on those berries for free heals. Visit Mr. Pocket Monster, then win the initial rival fight. This time, I accurately report his real name, question mark, to the police when they ask. Seriously, I can't be the only over-literal child who did this, right? Get 5 free Pokeballs from Elm's Aid, then tell me Ma when I go home that she must leave my cash alone. And we can now catch Pokemon to build the team. Crystal did one thing better than any other Pokemon entry that I have played. The early game Pokemon availability is enormous. There are Hoppips right here, then Route 30 adds 4 bugs, Zubat, Poliwag, and very soon after come Bellsprout, Onix, Ghastly, Fanpy, Teddiursa, and Growlithe. I feel more freedom than ever to sculpt my team, since these early choices do have an outsized impact on the flow of the run. I catch 1 Bellsprout to trade and 1 to add to the team. Welcome Vanessa. This is why I chose Cyndaquil to seed my rival with a Totodile. Spoiler, she's going to be my Miltank fighter as well, so I made sure to catch a female to dodge Attract. Trade your bonus Bellsprout for Rocky Top, Tennessee in Violet City. Rocky is as bad as he was in Gold, but many of the trades besides this one are shuffled around a little bit in Crystal, so we're still going to make every NPC trade and rank them all at the end. Then, a big change from Crystal. Morning only, I putter around in Dark Cave and the Bad Seeds for a 5% Teddiursa encounter with a max level of 2. They do not hand you a finished product, you really have to build a bear. Crystal made both Teddiursa and Fanpy available at the start of the game instead of perversely late. This is one shuffle I felt important to highlight in the run, so welcome Zodiac to the team. Even with just Scratch, this thing is already a unit, and he's able to hold his own in trainer battles. Now, one system I pooped on in Gold version was the annoying and low payoff cell phone. I'm not joking when I say the cell phone improvements are actually the best thing about Pokemon Crystal. Some trainers call for rematches, with their teams getting progressively stronger and eventually gifting a useful vitamin as thank you. Other trainers just call to hand out the evolution stones, which were locked to the post-game in Gold and Silver. And some don't give their number freely, treating it like a quest and making you show them a certain Pokemon first. I tried to prioritize running back for rematches this run, including plenty of early harassment from Joey on Route 30. Sprout Tower is a mess for the Vanessa, so I lean on Zodiac heavily here. I still did give Vanessa some Sprout on Sprout matchups to keep her XP equal, but this was painful. Don't do this. So we have a Bellsprout on the team, and I already mentioned Poliwag and Growlithe could be caught. Growlithe is actually catchable on Route 36 before the first gym, and I was very close to running one, but it ultimately competed with Zodiac for the honor of being my 6th Pokemon who doesn't really add helpful type coverage on the team. I believe that Crystal version chose Growlithe, Bellsprout, and Poliwag specifically as Pokemon who evolve using the Elemental Stones in order to help highlight the changes they made to stone availability. That's a design intentionality that I can get behind. Anyway, Zodiac scratches his way through Faulkner for Badge 1 and the chance to collect weekday sibling prizes. I won't really call those out on this run, that's all in my gold video, but I do collect the relevant ones for my team. The Ruins of Alph have been improved a fair bit in Crystal with 4 new puzzles to solve for loot. The first puzzle wants an escape rope. Use one at the wall, and the wall gapes for 4 items inside. The other 3 puzzles are not accessible or solvable now. I will put those off until I can hit all 3 of them later. For now, I grab the Old Rod in the Poke Center and reach Azalea Town, completing the Slowpoke Well dungeon. Bugsy's gym mostly has Vanessa in the back seat again, but I gave her some of the cocoons since ineffective Vine Whips still bypass their hardens. Against Bugsy's Scyther, I went for the Lick Paralyze on Zodiac, and that paid off as a way to mitigate Fury Cutter, allowing me to treat Scyther like a lotto ticket and scratch to win. Then Rival Fight 2 is on the way out of town into the Tidal Max Forest.
Why the hell was that in my script? Ilex does not sound like Tidal Max.
And when the night falls, my Joneliness calls, but Joey rematches are getting a little bit out of physical reach, so I'm going to ignore those until I gain Fly or at least get rid of Sudowoodo. Cut is a big offensive gain for Zodiac in the Ilex Forest, but awkwardly so is Headbutt, which also comes right now. Crystal added 1 trainer in this forest tutorializing headbutting. Really, what they needed to fix headbutting though was to give Magnemite and Heracross more same-type moves to make them worthwhile catches. On Route 34, don't miss Picnicker Gina's number after battling, since she will call us for a Leaf Stone. Vanessa will want this later. Also, grab Camper Todd's number. He will call for rematches that we can ignore, but also for flash sales in the Goldenrod department store. Also, catch an Abra here for trade purposes. Then the terrible, long, frustrating segment about odd eggs. First, enter town, grab the bicycle, and then save your game outside the daycare. Unique to Crystal version is the odd egg we get for free here, but since we're save scumming the outcome, having the bike first helps us hatch them. The odd egg can be one of 7 Pokemon with uneven odds. There are a few decent outcomes, but of course it's my video style to analyze the fun out of it and force the best result. Buckle up. Pichu and Elekid are both decent pulls, really the 2 most playable electric types in the game. Elekid can learn the Elemental Punch TMs right away to contribute as a baby, but Pichu takes a little more nurturing to become strong. Smoochum is another strong outcome. Jinx herself does not learn Psychic moves by level up in Crystal, but Smoochum does, including even Psychic at level 37. And you know from my other videos that Jinx is goated as long as the games throw Dragon Masters at us and refuse to invent a more usable Ice type. Magby is okay in a vacuum, learning Fire and Thunder Punch out of the gate, but Fire type just has very little need on a team where you're required to run a Flyer anyway. Cleffa can learn a variety of moves and be okay at them, but Zodiac has that generalist role handled, and Igglybuff is just worse Cleffa. That leaves the 7th option, Tyrogue, with an 11% chance of being your odd egg. He slots very nicely on a team. Strong against both of the new Gen 2 types, fighting is rather good for the in-game meta. I spend an hour or 2 saving and reloading, taking several minutes each time to hatch the egg, until finally, on my 13th try, I roll a Tyrogue and welcome Ska to the team. Let's party like it's 96 and bring the horn section back. Also, in the middle of my reloading for Ska, Picnicker Gina called about a Leaf Stone, so I nabbed that and resaved. One upside of forcing a certain egg, I guess. In the department store now, I bought a protein to jumpstart Ska's development. Odd egg Pokemon come out with 0 IVs. Unless they're shiny, then they have mid IVs. Ska, with his 0 IVs, is like 6% weaker than a naturally caught Pokemon would be, so I'll pump him most of my vitamins for the rest of the run. This naturally synergizes with a Tyrogue specifically, since you do want to use vitamins to manipulate his stats to evolve how you want him to. Then trade away your Abra for Muscle the Machop. This trade wanted Drowsy in gold, which was a little easier to catch, but still a Psychic type caught on Route 34. The slight change is a little strange, but Abras are purchasable at the game corner if you don't want to catch one. And buy some of these strong Elemental Punch TMs. Zodiac gets Thunder Punch, and I grab an Ice Punch for later. Visit the radio station to take a quiz for a radio card. To Crystal's credit, they did change the questions on this quiz from Gold Silver. I'm contrasting this with Yellow version, which did not bother changing the quiz question in Blaine's gym from Red and Blue. There's actually a new radio show that we care about in Crystal version, Buena's Password Show. Once a day, if we listen to her program in the evening for the password, we can report the password to her in person for 1 point. Points can be traded in for prizes. Her points cap at 30, and there is content for hitting cap, but you can only earn 1 point a day. So of course, I spent a month straight answering Buena passwords for points. Day after day, this misery must go on. After amassing 30 Buena points, she'll trade phone numbers with us. As far as I can tell, getting her number is just for bragging rights. So, after earning her number, I'm free to blow 30 points with her intern for prizes. I turn them into vitamins for Ska, trying to make him as usable as possible. Cause as of now, Ska just sucks. Johnny Quest, he thinks we're what? Raising a Tyrogue from the Odd Egg does synergize well with farming Buena passwords, but gosh, this whole segment was painful to execute. Into the underground now, starting our uphill journey to bring Ska back, swap boosting him into every battle. Zodiac gets a haircut while I'm here since he's gonna return later, and I grabbed the coin case so I can show off how much better the prize corner got in Crystal version. On offer is still Abra, plus now Cubone and Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet is exactly the kind of bizarre, specific build Pokemon that should come from a prize corner, and this is by far the earliest we've had access to a Cubone. Ground type is rather strong offensively, but Cubones have always come weirdly late in the games once we have better options. If there's a time to run Cubone, it's in Crystal, and we do give Crystal credit for having a sensible prize corner. Head up Route 35 now, accepting the mail delivery Spearow, Kenya. Call me Meryl Streep, cause I'm taking this bird out of Africa. That is to say, I'm keeping Kenya on my team. Kenya needs levels too, so I let him peck through strong matchups, but I give everything that I can to Ska, like these underleveled Voltorbs. TM28 Dig is strong enough to plan around, but I just didn't this time. Cubone would have loved this. Schoolboy Allen up here is the number to register for Firestone gifts. He's only got a Tangela on his team though, so it's like he's asking to be hurt. And the Sudowoodo situation is slightly better telegraphed in Crystal. You meet the flower shop owner's sister by the tree first, and she drops the hint to come visit their store, so it's harder to get lost here. Ska only hit level 16 before Whitney's gym, and I try to avoid grinding for no reason, so in we go. Ska is able to slog through some Sentrets and a Snubbull, but Whitney's Clefairy took us out quick as Ska struggled to do damage. Against Miltank, without fighting Pokemon tech, my options are limited. I was not too proud to have Vanessa Sleep Powder her, grow a few times, and Vine Whip to win. And leveling up here poetically got Vanessa to 21 to evolve after battle. You can make a case for waiting to 37 so that your Bellsprout will learn Razor Leaf, but I did not bother. Get the Squirt Bottle and take out Sudowoodo. I actually got Ska full XP for this, but only because Vanessa fainted with Pseudo at 1 hit point. Then the Rock Smash TM appropriately goes right on Ska. Through Dark Cave to the Route 46 trainers who only make sense to fight at this exact point in the game. One of them is Picnicker Aaron, who will rematch us for an eventual prize, like Joey if we trade numbers. Then up Route 37, I boost Ska to 20, his evolution level, against a Drowsy. He's got more attack than defense thanks to proteining him a few times, which means he evolves into Hitmonlee. The only usable fighting Pokemon these 2 generations, unless you're okay with a Machoke that can't evolve. Unfortunately, he still has no good fighting move, but his stats took a huge leap, making Dizzy Punch now a proper attack. I hit Ekrutik, met Bill, and took on the Dance Studio to get Surf. Sadly, I still don't have anyone to benefit from it offensively yet. I entered the Burnt Tower, which did get an overhaul from Gold and Silver. A new named NPC, the mystical man Eusine, is here tracking down Suicune. Morty is here too, which is a nice touch since he talks about the legendary Pokemon in his gym dialogue. And our rival fights us in the middle instead of upon entering, but the fight is the same. Afterward, we fall through the floor in a cutscene. The tone is light, but this is honestly scary because it reminded me of The Conjuring when Lorraine falls through the crawlspace floor. Well, wish joy to the world to these 3 dogs, and Suicune hops around like a bullfrog, letting you know she's special. Then Eusine fills in some lore and kicks off the worldwide Suicune hunt. We're free to go, but I patrol down here a little more first. Kenya punks a Coughing to hit level 20 and evolve, which couldn't come too soon since I always feel like Spearow drops off hard in the teens. But I'm actually hunting to show off a weird Crystal version edition. There's a 1% chance to encounter a level 16 Weezing in this basement, 19 whole levels before Coughings naturally evolve. In a world without Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, or Ice Beam, Sludge Bomb is one of the best attacks in the game, and I feel like every good team should plan a user for it. Weezing is one such, and Crystal chose to allow us this strange, super early Weezing if we want to take it. I don't. On to Morty's gym, while I point out what Crystal did bad. There's no Girafarig available in Crystal to punk Morty. There's also no Mareep or Remoraid. These 3 Gen 2 species are the only ones unavailable in Crystal version. Gold and Silver had 6 exclusive species apiece. No, my argument isn't to cry that my dear giraffes are gone, rather that Crystal included too many Pokemon. Version exclusives contribute to the identity of a Pokemon release, so I do feel like Crystal lost some identity by including everything except these 3 species which feel randomly targeted. Anyway, Morty is a slight mess without a true counter. Kenya pecks through some ghosts, and Zodiac has feint attacks to deal acceptable damage to Gengar, but without some lucky hypnosis dodges, this fight would have gone much differently. This next segment was important to play at night. I need a Surfer and a mail carrier. Crystal made Meryl's much easier to catch out in the grass on Route 42. I named mine USPS. After all, you can't spell Meryl without mail. This is our Surfer, but only temporary, so I won't invest XP in the USPS. I also registered Fisherman Tully's number after fighting him here. He is our source for water stones. Then I evicted Bueno's number since her calls have not been very substantive, just her vaguely flirting with us, which is weird. The game now wants us to head to Olivine City, but I pushed through to Mahogany Town. Not for any big brain content reasons, I'm just power hungry and I want to show Vanessa some toxic love, with oil and grime and poison sludge. I take out Red Gyarados at the Lake of Rage thanks to a lucky Paralyze off a Thunder Punch, then continued through to the Rocket Hideout dungeon. With many poison foes, early Cubone would have gone hard here, so to speak, with his bone meringue. Did y'all know about this hidden revive in a devious spot among the trap floors? Ska dings 26 off of Eradicate and finally learns High Jump Kick, which he will main for the rest of the game. The Tyrogue family tree just isn't designed well, with 2 unusable evolutions, considering Hitmontop does not learn Triple Kick until level 49, Hitmonchan's just bad, and then Hitmonlee learns his best move at the early level 26. That said, props to Crystal for making Tyrogue available before the late game so we can actually use him without stopping the game to a halt to grind. With the Rocket Hideout cleared, I go back to the lake. Sludge Bomb goes on Vanessa, giving her a huge offensive boost. The hidden power TM is sadly harder to abuse this time since our team is almost full already. What the team really lacks is a rock attack on Kenya or Ska, except I'm not able to reroll them to game their hidden power. Now get ready for a huge Crystal version change. With the rockets gone, the fishing guru again wants us to catch him a gigantic Magikarp. I saw more variants this time, catching one as small as 2 foot 0 inches, and my winner was a Chungus at 4 feet 4 inches. And get this, he awards us an Elixir in Crystal, up from an Ether in Gold Silver. I'm giving Crystal a point for this and taking one away. They put thought into this quest and bothered buffing the prize, except it's still so minor that it's not worth your time catching stupid fish. I got a call from Fisherman Tully after this, nice and punctual, so I hit him up for a free water stone and deleted his number. Then I'm just about to start on Route 38 when Camper Todd calls me about that department store sale I've been waiting on. Get in, loser, we're going shopping. The department store has had another floor added in Crystal version, the Rooftop, and during flash sales you can buy full heals up here at 17% off, so grab an armload and then don't worry about status healing for the rest of the run. And of course lose Todd's number now that he's paid off. By playing on Sunday, I was able to grab the Return of Jafar from the local video store, and I taught that to Zodiac. With his astronomical attack stat, same type bonus, and high friendship, Return is going to one-shot even neutral matchups for the rest of the game. Gold version knew what it was doing, gating Teddiursa so late. Crystal version feels slightly better for power gaming Gen 2 with the better selection and earlier availability of very strong Pokemon like this. I went and caught a Krabby now that I had been distracted from earlier with the whole odd egg situation, then revisited Beverly in the National Park. With USPS on the team, she lets us take her number down because we have a Meryl. Beverly is one of 2 phone numbers that need to be shown a certain Pokemon first. The payoff for doing this will not be very big, but this mini quest is a fun addition in Crystal. Now, I can finally progress the game in the right direction by going west of Ecruteak on Route 38. There's one new trainer added here in Crystal, a beauty who has a Corsola. This is a smart addition since no other trainers in the game run Corsola, so it fills a hole in the Pokédex. More important though is Last Dana, whose number you should take after battle as the Thunderstone giver. Then on Route 39, beat Pokefan Derek, who is the second of the Show Them a Pokemon First phone numbers. Except he wants a Pikachu, which is poorly designed for everyone except those who got Pichu from their odd egg. We'll have to come back much later for this. Arrive in Olivine and make the completely underwhelming trade of Krabby for Voltorb named Volti. This trade is exactly the same as it was in Gold and Silver. Grab Strength, which goes on Ska since Zodiac's move slots are more valuable. Then head up the Lighthouse, grabbing Sailor Huey's number for rematches. Meet the sick Ampharos and move along like I know you do. Now, I'm gonna disappoint a chunk of you by not having an involved Battle Tower segment, but it's extremely difficult and needs entirely separate preparation, especially at the lower levels since opponents have endgame held items and movesets. I attempted the level 30 bracket with my team of 29s, but only landed a single hit on the first opponent before getting swept. So, credit to Crystal for including the Battle Tower, but this video will actually not include an involved Battle Tower segment. On the surf down to Cyanwood, Zodiac dinged level 30 to evolve into Ursaring, achieving a full unit status. In Cyanwood, nab the plot device from Elton John. Beverly's calls start coming in, but they're drier than the Mojave. She gets the least interesting phone call award, but I do love that she ends calls by saying we'll hear from her. It's kind of ominous. The beach here is more developed in Crystal with a Suicune hopping cutscene, followed by a battle with Eucene. Mystical Man is such a great prefix. I thought he'd be more of a Professor Indiana Jones type, but he's instead more like that weird magician from The Seventh Guest, and his team is not particularly thematic. Nor is this battle hard. There's also a new house on the beach for the Pokemon Seer. The Seer tells you where you caught a Pokemon and at what level. I'm not sure this has an actual use, but the building serves to draw our attention up the beach and it makes it harder to miss Suicune. Then into Chuck's Gym. This is normally a big level jump, but with only a 4-man team and doing the Mahogany content first, we're going in close to level 30 anyway, and it's hardly a spike. Kenya should have an advantage here, but stuck with just Peck on offense and having low defense, he's not the fighting counter he needs to be. It's actually Vanessa who carries here with a fighting resistance and neutral but strong sludge bombs on offense. The Fly HM we get afterward is a huge power boost for Kenya. Then Virginia Wolf it, cure Amphi, and run straight out to fight Jasmine. Ska's high jump kick is enough to take out her Magnemite, but Steelix is bulky enough to tank a kick. I then beef my next kick while he does not beef Iron-Tail, so I'm stuck whittling Steelix down with other team members, then using Zodiac to ineffectively return down her final Magnemite. Conveniently, Huey calls for a rematch while we're still right here, but that does not stop him from claiming he waited forever when I immediately went to go fight him. Then fly to Mahogany Town for our third back-to-back gym. Rushing gyms like this is, I suppose, a downside of doing the Rocket Hideout early. Against Price, Sludge Bomb handles Seal, and Ska one-shots Dugong, then he misses a kick against Piloswine. But Piloswine uses Blizzard, and Hitmonlee actually has respectable special defense, so Ska is not dead, but still kicking to claim the win. Pugsley Adams gives us the Glacier badge for winning, then Elm calls us to open up the Goldenrod Radio Tower dungeon. But hold on, beating Price opened the route to Blackthorn. The Ice Path got a big graphical overhaul in Crystal with an entirely new tile set. Cosmetic Point for Crystal version. And Sneasels are actually catchable here. That makes 2 dark types acquirable in Johto in Crystal version up from 1. But we're not here for a Sneasel. On the bottom floor, morning or day, we're hunting for a Jinx to add to the team. Sister Psychic can't really see the future, just predict the weather, since she only gets ice moves from leveling in Crystal version. Just ice? Welcome Ma Justice to the team. That Ice Punch TM from earlier goes on her, and I taught her Shadow Ball as well. Then push through to Blackthorn City to grab the Fly destination, then hop back to Route 42 for a Suicune hopping cutscene, having encountered her already in Cyanwood. Now with Ma Justice, we can take on the Radio Tower. MJ has a pretty easy time catching the team's level thanks to Ice Punch. I also taught Zodiac Dig here, quite a bit late, to help cover the many poison opponents. Rival Battle 4 happens in the Underground segment, where Ma Justice is strong against his Golbat, and Sneasel is new in this encounter for Ska to punish at 4x. I'll also point out that Ska demolishes the Executive's Houndour and Houndoom at the top of the tower. These Hounds have much lower defense than special defense, so having a fighting type really rewards you here. For saving the Radio Tower, we get not the Rainbow Wing, but the Clear Bell in Crystal version. Let's use that right away by flying to Ecruteak and entering the Tin Tower. The wise trio of sages guards the path, each having a Noctowl plus an evolution matching the elements of the 3 legendary dogs. Then, on the first floor of the Tin Tower, the final Suicune cutscene unleashes the other 2 dogs into the world and begins the battle against Suicune, who will not flee nor roar us away in this encounter. Vanessa simply sleeps her and bombs her to a pixel of health, which is the perfect setup to lob Ultra Balls and finally catch our real water user. It's a big fast blue thing, so welcome WRX STI to the team. I tossed all 3 water HMs on her. Then, since we have a new surfer, we can now go deliver Randy's mail. Oh boy. Attach the flower mail to USPS and deliver the mail rat to the sleeping man on Route 31. Yeah, did y'all know you can deliver him any Pokemon as long as you just move the flower mail to it first? You're welcome for not shipping my Cyndaquil. And our team is pretty close to complete now. Aside from evolving Vanessa eventually, we're gonna make one change in the postgame to add some type coverage that we're missing. See if you can guess what. Claire is the next gym challenge, but I beat up the trainers on Route 46 first to bring the party to level 36-ish since Kingdra is a villain. Ma Justice handles all the dragons in this place easily with Ice Punch, including Claire's first Dragonair. Her Kingdra is tougher without an Assassin Forretress though. Vanessa gets in a Sludge Bomb with the poison before losing to a Hyper Beam. I then switch to Ska, whose high jump kick gets Kingdra down to a Sliver, dying to poison on his recharge turn. Relatively clean Kingdra win considering. Then it's back to MJ to sweep her Dragonairs. The post-Claire nuttery is much better handled in Crystal version. The Dragon Cave is an actual mini-dungeon with 2 trainers in it, and the Dragon Fang is no longer a random MacGuffin. Our goal instead is the Central Shrine, which has had a door added, entering to a creepy temple, where an old man gives a super basic quiz on how not to be an asshole, which apparently Claire has been failing for decades. Exit and re-enter this chamber to receive a level 15 Dratini gift. If we nailed the quiz, it comes in knowing extreme speed, which is pretty cool. There is still a trade that wants a female Dragonair, but since this Dratini came so late, I'm not going to bother grinding it to evolve, just box it with extreme speed. With 8 Johto badges in hand, fly to New Barktown to pick up the Master Ball from Professor Elm. And we won't have a better time than right now with the team's level in the high 30s to hunt dogs. By using a repel at this level, no encounters besides Raikou or Entei will happen in a grass patch. I just have to keep re-entering the zone. I ping-ponged between Route 36 and the ruins of Alph, and walking in grass until a dog finds me. It's perpetual bliss, this kiss from Ma Justice that sleeps the dogs for me to whittle them low and launch Ultra Balls until both of them are caught. Y'all know that I usually like gunning down my legendaries, but it's actually worth content in Crystal to catch these, so I did it for you. Then, it's time to enter Kanto and approach Victory Road. Like last time, I'll give the team a little scorecard as we tackle routes 27 and 28. Vanessa, with us since the beginning, has a lot of useful defenses and hits pretty hard with Sludge Bomb. It's just a shame with Vine Whip's base power so low that she only barely counts as an actual grass user offensively. Zodiac has been a monster the whole game, but he's honestly a little bit boring. Like, yeah, he can return his way through any opponent, but he's slow and return is all he does. Ska has been incredibly strong since evolving. Fighting type has so many targets in the campaign, I believe Hitmonlee or Machoke belong on every single strong team. Kenya had dropped off hard until gaining Fly, and since then has been strong but narrow. There aren't a ton of targets for flying in this gen, and with his low defenses, you only want to be using Kenya against opponents that die to a single fly. Kenya just wants to fly. Put your arms around me, baby. Put your arms around me, baby. Ma Justice is a little sad with no psychic moves yet, confined to only Ice Punch, but I mean, she's really good at doing Ice Punch, and we can fix her soon. And WRX STI is still untested. We could rare candy her once to learn Aurora Beam at 41, but while that's a nice thought, it just wouldn't get used, what with Ma Justice carrying us on ice. Oh yeah, and we defeat our rival for a 5th time in Victory Road. This is the fight where he adds a Kadabra. I wanna reach out and grab ya. I did realize one issue with the team, so I used the Teleport Abra before challenging the Elite Four. We don't have any fire on the team, and Koga's Forretress really wants fire, so I picked up Fire Punch for Zodiac, replacing Dig. You may want to buy vitamins now, but don't blow all of your cash because we need 80,000 after the Elite Four. I'm also notably conserving my Earthquake TM for the postgame. Okay, let's take on the Elite 5. Against Will, Ma Justice ices his Zaytus and Executor, Ska kicks his Jinx, and we don't have an excellent Slowbro counter. And most of the time when I say that we don't have a good counter to something, that means it's time for Zodiac to just blow a hole through the problem with Return. Koga is barely worth talking through, except to note that Zodiac's Fire Punch does not one-shot the Forretress, who manages to scatter spikes before dying in order to waste my fresh waters. Bruno is surprisingly tricky. Kenya cannot use Fly against Hitmontop because he's smart enough to detect every other turn and neutralize our attacks. He's got his feet in the air and his head on the ground. so I just let Ska one-shot the inferior Tyrogue evolution. Kenya then handles his Hitmonlee, leveling up to 40 to learn Drill Peck, which is an improvement over Fly in both damage and accuracy. Bruno's Machamp with Cross Chop and Rock Slide can be brutal, but I don't let it get that far. Vanessa uses a cheeky Sleep Powder and bombs him to cheese the dub. Karen gets one line just to note that Ska kicks the crap out of her Umbreon and Houndoom. Then Lance, who was iffy in my gold playthrough, is actually straightforward thanks to Ma Justice here, except for his Gyarados. Zodiac gets that in 2 Thunder Punches, tanking a Hyper Beam in the middle, and we actually get to employ STI a bit here on the Charizard and Aerodactyl. There's just no beating a Jinx in the first 2 generations since the devs could not stop throwing dragons at us. Dragon D's nuts across our face. Okay, I'm including all the Crystal postgame in this video as well. There are some differences, but I'm going to go pretty quickly over the progression and battle stuff since I'd rather spare time to cover what actually changed. Our first act is flying to Goldenrod City, where the lazy, hastily implemented move tutor who doesn't even get his own building or lore will teach one of Flamethrower, Ice Beam, or Thunderbolt to your Pokemon at the cost of 4,000 coins. That's 80,000 actual dollars. I taught Ice Beam to STI, even though Ma Justice would love it as well, since STI is a little one-note so far with only her water moves, and Ma Justice will get Psychic soon. Sailor Huey is still calling for rematches. In fact, everyone is, and I still haven't seen hide nor tail of any of these alleged gifts from fighting them consistently. Then that already put us in Olivine for riding the SS Aqua over to Kanto. The boat ride is identical in Crystal, just grab the XP and find the girl to receive a metal coat and land in Vermilion City. I am going to shake up the gym order that I used in my gold video. We still start by heading north on Route 6, which has 2 whole new trainers on it. These Pokefans have a Fanpie and a Teddiursa respectively, complementary exclusives from Gold and Silver, but wow are these battles phoned in. This is not the improvement to Kanto that we all needed, Game Freak. In Saffron City, I'm excited to finally get Ma Justice a Psychic move. Achieve your dreams, Queen. Then it's west on Route 7, where Houndours have been increased from a 5% encounter rate up to 20%, and they now show up at level 18, up from 15. Game Freak did realize dark types were unnecessarily gatekept and helped us out a little, with Hounds coming easier and Sneasels happening back in Johto. Then I noticed Vanessa was right on the edge of level 42, so I punked some Persians until she leveled up to learn Razor Leaf. With that, I'm finally ready to evolve her using the Leaf Stone that's been burning a hole in my pocket for most of the run. In Celadon City, the mansion rooftop is different, I think? Was this guy always here? And I don't care about leftovers, so it's straight through to Cycling Road where a Jinx with Psychic can do a lot of damage. Hit Fuchsia City, which would be our first gym, but instead I just make sure that I have some Ultra Balls and head through to Route 15. In Gold version, I caught a Chansey here, but in Crystal version, Chanseys can actually come at level 28 instead of 25 if you head a few screens over and catch one on Route 14. This troll initiated with Soft Boiled, but a few more Razor Leafs got her low, and plus a Sleep Powder, I caught myself a Chansey to trade for Aroy the Aerodactyl, whom I actually add to the team, replacing Kenya. This trade is technically the same as in Gold, except that coming in at level 28 now, our boy learns Ancient Power after only 1 level up. It's only 60 power, but Aerodactyl has enough attack stat to make it count, and Rock is a very useful offensive type. I was also saving Earthquake for Aroy, so this final team change adds a lot of strong type coverage. In the postgame, sadly. Aroy's insane coverage lets me stick him into trainer battles from the jump and already have him one-shotting many opponents. Aroy is just very easy to integrate on a team. Reach the fishing area for the Super Rod, which we do want this run. Then we're ready to start taking on gyms. I'm enjoying this rapid powering up of the team that's been developing with Ice Beam, Psychic, Victreebel, and Aroy. So I started with Erica's gym, claiming more easy XP for Aroy. He's level 36 by the time I challenge Erica. He flew down Tangela, then skated through Bellossom and Jumpluff, tanking big grass attacks. Defeating Erica got me the Giga Drain TM for Vanessa, awkwardly replacing Razor Leaf that we just worked so hard on. The silver lining is, between Ancient Power and Giga Drain having 5 PP apiece, we have great uses for those PP ups we've been hoarding all game. I was able to max both moves. With Erica done, our postgame route is restored to order. I take on Janine's gym, Aroy nearly sweeping the entire thing with Earthquake. Then it's east from Cerulean toward the power plant, where STI actually gets some use now that the party level has risen to match hers. I kick off the power plant quest, grab the machine part in Cerulean Gym, then clear my way up to Misty's date spot. Bill's grandpa is still here if you want to grab duplicate evolution stones, or if you have not bothered messing with phone numbers. Return the machine part, go through Rock Tunnel, where even with Aeroy, I'm not sold on the Steel Wing TM, and arrive in Lavender Down. I grab the radio expansion card, then walk west on Route 8, where we actually need to catch a nighttime-only Haunter. Then it's Route 11 to take on Snorlax. I initiate with a high jump kick from Ska that just gets there in one. I'm optimistic about Red Snorlax because of this. With that way now clear, enter Diglett Tunnel and linger. You know I'm such a fool for you. We have to walk around until we find a Dugtrio to catch as trade fodder. Once that's caught, loot the treasure on the far side of the tunnel and then enter Pewter City. A man in the Poke Center trades our Haunter for his Zaytu named Paul. This marks the only Generation 2 Pokemon available in any of the 13 NPC trades across Gold, Silver, and Crystal. It's a decent Pokemon if you teach it Psychic, and it comes at a good time after you have seen Will's powerful Zaytus on display. Vanessa sweeps almost all of Brock's gym. His water and rock types are a lot easier with grass on the team. And then the Ho-Oh rules have changed from Gold, but Lugia is still opened up with the Silver Wing that we get right now from this old man in Pewter. With Dugtrio in hand, fly to Cerulean and saunter once more to the power plant, where a new trade has been added in Crystal. This scientist wants our Dugtrio for his Magneton, Maggie. Maggie comes with a bonus Metal Coat, which is a weird thing to double up on, but a Magneton coming so late is not a rewarding trade. Then, for some reason, I forgot Misty and took on Lieutenant Surge next. He leads with Raichu, which... Raichu in Crystal is a thick gothic girl. Look at that lipstick. Anyway, Vanessa took out a couple ops, and Aeroy swept the rest with Earthquakes. Now, we have business in Johto, but first we need a Pikachu. Sure, they're catchable on Route 2, but by wasting $45,000, I can buy one at the Game Corner and show off the differences there. In Crystal, the Celadon Game Corner offers Pikachu for 2222 coins and Larvitar for 8888. If you have any wild goals to employ Tyranitar for your red fight, this is your only way to get a Larvitar on a somewhat usable time frame. Crystal gets another point for improving Kanto's Game Corner. So with our expensive Pikachu, ride the SS Aqua back to Olivine, gobbling up trainer XP, and bring that new Pikachu just north of town to show Pokefan Derek. He will call us for nuggets after we show him that Pikachu. This comes ridiculously late in the game, unless your odd egg was a Pichu that you raised. High effort, low payoff quests are like the defining trait of my videos, so here you go. I brought Derek his Pikachu, so you never have to. And while we're in Johto, let's finish up the NPC trades. Enter the Dragon Cave and directly Super Rod up a Dragonair. Make sure to catch a female, and we can trade it to the girl in Blackthorn City for her Dodrio, Doris. Doris is pretty much a strict upgrade to Kenya. It's just a shame we've already leapfrogged Doris to the superior Aeroy. And with that final trade done, we can now rank all of the NPC trades of Pokemon Crystal. Aeroy is a clear winner. The Chansey he needs comes from his immediate vicinity, and it's a strong Pokemon with great coverage that we can only acquire through trading. Muscle is still fine. She's purpose-built to take down Whitney, and though the trade requirement changed from Drowsy to Abra, which is more annoying to catch, they're still available in the same place or from the Game Corner. It's just a shame that Muscle is not a Machoke so that it would evolve. Paul gets passing marks as well. It's the only Gen 2 Pokemon offered for trade across the 3 games. Natu is not an easy Pokemon to find, and since this trade is in the post-game, we already have access to the Psychic TM that we need to get him powered up at the point of trading. Doris I struggle to evaluate. As a Pokemon, this is a good trade. Dodrio is strong, and it's not yet available naturally. But Dratinis are available much later in Crystal since you can't grab one at the Game Corner, meaning you either take a strange dragon grinding break around Blackthorn City, or you make this trade like we did in the post-game when it's too late to shine. Volti, I cannot believe that I ranked in C tier in Gold. Yes, the Krabby it asks for is easily caught nearby, but Electric Learn Set's just below in Gen 2 outside of Lantern with Spark and Electabuzz with Thunder Punch. This thing would be a right pain to actually utilize. Plus, you can catch Electrodes in the Rocket Hideout. Maggie is also a lame trade, since we can much more easily have raised our own Magneton by now than caught and traded a Dugtrio. The Learn Set is awkward in Gen 2, but coming with a Metal Coat is neat if you have a friend and both of you want Steelix and Scizor, I guess? And Rocky still sucks. Its stats are not great, we can't evolve it, it never learns Rock Slide, and most damningly, it's gonna disobey us until our second badge. Now if we wait overnight, we can take the SS Aqua back to Kanto for more XP. But Sailor Huey intercepted me at the pier with a challenge, so I take him on first. His team is now fully evolved into Polly's Wrath and Toad, and upon winning, he finally gifts me a protein, allowing me to delete his number and consider the quest complete. It seems like these trainers each have a final form you have to beat before they relinquish any items, and they're starting to come due. Alright, so take that boat ride, then fly to Pewter and hit Mount Moon for the 6th rival fight. He has an evolved Gengar and Alakazam now, but our levels are high enough to bully him without stressing. This does bode well for Red. Once we're Thrulian to Cerulean, it's time to beat Misty, which is a much nicer time than we had in Gold, since Vanessa is proper water coverage. The next goal is Blaine, so I travel south cross land to put out the fire before I get much older. On the way, I meet Blue on the janked up Cinnabar Island. Right then, Joey called about a rematch, and I am eager to get more numbers deleted. So, I abandon the plot, fly back to Saffron, turn in the copycat quest for a rail pass, ride the train to Johto, fly to Cherry Grove, and challenge Joey for the final time. After an entire game's worth of phone calls, Joey gives up the HP up, and I'm finally able to lose his number. Okay, where were we? Seafoam and Blaine. As usual, this fight is very easy and it's barely worth talking about. Then I completed the route up to Fuchsia, nibbling on Swimmer's feet for experience like those pedicure fish. Then it's back to Saffron to take on Sabrina. The only news to report here is how close Zodiac gets to one-shotting her Alakazam, even through a Reflect, but it takes the return of Return next turn to finish the job. At this point, I realized that it's a Monday, so I flew up to fight my rival at Indigo Plateau. Every level is gonna matter against a Red, and this fight got the team up to 48 and 49, and more importantly, triggered a Picnicker Aaron call. Again, I voyaged back to Johto for Aaron's final fight, still with 2 Ponytas, but she has now picked up a random Raichu. Beating her this time did earn a gift of calcium and allowed me to delete Aaron's number. Another boat ride for the XP, and it's on to fight Blue. Gyarados was the tough opponent here, as it tends to be in a game with few usable electric types, but Zodiac got there in 2 Thunder Punches, dodging a Hydro Pump. There's some cool content back in Johto, but we do have to beat Red first. I get permission from Oak, and then start toward Mount Silver. But before Red, huge news. Beverly, who has been calling me for half the game to spout nonsense, finally has a nugget to gift us, so I rush to the national park, collect her nugget, and gladly delete her number. Crystal really is a good breakup simulator since you get to delete lots of phone numbers that you never want to hear from again. Back in Mount Silver, the one meaningful change in Crystal is that you can allegedly catch a straight-up Pupitar at level 20, but I didn't agonize over finding this for footage because the Game Corner Larvitar is the way to go if you're going to. I fail against a Red once with the team at level 50 because Blastoise is really problematic, even with Vanessa because he knows Blizzard. When I reload, Last Dana calls at long last with a Thunderstone gift, so I nab that, then I grind the team up to level 52 before retrying Red. I also get the call from Derek for his nugget, much quicker than Beverly's process took, then I go to challenge Red again. Aroy Earthquakes Pikachu in 1, outspeeding. Red goes right into Blastoise, whom I end up defeating with a Kiss from Ma Justice and several Psychics to whittle down. Charizard comes to counter MJ, but STI wins in 2 Surfs. Then he got sneaky, sending Venusaur, whom I countered with Vanessa, but the bastard changes again into Espeon as I Sludge Bomb. I swap to Aroy thinking he can outspeed, but Espeon KOs Aroy in 1 Psychic, so I send Zodiac to clean up. Snorlax is next, who of course goes to Ska. My damage is excellent, doing more than half of his bar in 1 kick, but with low defense on Ska, a single body slam takes me out. Since Vanessa was robbed of Blastoise, I send her in now to sleep Snorlax before he can rest and race him down with Giga Drain. That leaves only Venusaur, with Vanessa still happy to sling bombs and resist solar beams for the victory. Phew. The main challenges of the postgame are exactly the same as in Gold and Silver, so forgive me for flying through most of the battles. Return to Johto now for some final Crystal exclusive content. Show up at Tin Tower in Ecruteak City, and we're given the Rainbow Wing from a Sage because we spent that time earlier catching all 3 legendary dogs. Crystal has this specific plot based on whether we've caught the legendary Pokemon, and I think that's kind of cool. It stopped me from murdering them all. Apply Repel and climb up the tower. Note that we get an escape rope on the way up. You can't actually escape rope from the top of the tower, but the game does acknowledge that we're outside and lets us fly from the top, which is a neat detail. At the peak, encounter Ho-Oh and capture it with our Master Ball. This is our final catch of the game, cause with Ho-Oh we can finally complete the Ruins of Alph puzzles from forever ago. Head through Union Cave and Surf to reach 3 more puzzle chambers. The southeast chamber asks for Light. which means Vanessa using Flash. Like before, we collect 4 pieces of thematic loot, then jump through the floor for a creepy message that builds Pokemon world lore. The southwest chamber, besides losing your baggage, needs us to use a water stone, but the door opened when I walked in. I guess I just had to possess the stone. And the northwest chamber wants us to have Ho-Oh in the first slot of the party, which, remember, also required catching 3 legendary dogs. The prize for all that work, except the sense of pride and accomplishment, is a charcoal and a revival herb. It is at least cool that the items are thematic to Ho-Oh. Then there's one more legendary Pokemon we can give the ol' Mothy treatment to. Lugia awaits us in the northeastern Whirl Island. It's level 60 in Crystal version, splitting the 40 or 70 it can be in Silver and Gold. I do like that the Lugia experience is more differentiated from the Ho-Oh experience in Crystal, even though neither of them is the main focus of the game. All this thing can do is limply Hydro Pump against Vanessa, so I Sludge Bomb a couple of times and defeat the legendary flyer, ending our run of Pokemon Crystal by symbolically taking a huge dump on Silver. So, Crystal version was mostly clear upgrades from Gold and Silver. The cell phone system, believe it or not, stands out to me as the single biggest improvement. It changed from a curiosity into a proper gameplay system with rewards for interacting with it, and much more diverse conversation formats when you receive calls. Putting evolution stones and other prizes behind phone calls, adding timed department store sales, and giving you a reason to engage with the NPCs of the world brought a lot of life into the game. The plot changes are probably the more important change though, and the thing that's actually going to convince players of Gold and Silver to try Crystal, or not. So what did the new plot add? A few minor cutscenes of Suicune hopping around, one easy Ucine battle where his team felt random and unthematic, an easier Suicune catch that functions as a sort of boss battle, and a much more involved Ho-Oh catch. That's all the extra content, and I would not be sad to miss out on it. It's just not major. The content changes that I was happy to see are just things that felt underbaked in Gold and Silver. The Ruins of Alph had no reason to touch them before, now they have some reason with puzzles and minor loot. And the Dragon Cave especially felt completely senseless in Gold and Silver, but now it's a real, if tiny, dungeon with an interesting encounter in the shrine. Before I go into what's worse, here is the rest of the upsides I identified in a rapid-fire format. The early game is incredibly diverse in Pokemon and type availability. There's the option to play female, animated battle sprites, and title cards when you enter a new zone were nice touches. The Game Corner prizes improved significantly from awful to actually compelling. In-game trades are very slightly improved. They added one trade, and one trade at least now gives you a Generation 2 Pokemon. Evolution Stones aren't locked to the post-game, and the Ice Cave got a shiny new tile set. Okay, so what's worse in Crystal version? The biggest miss for me might not be a problem for others. It was Pokemon over-availability. I just feel like including almost every Pokemon, minus 3 species, only served to make me ask, well, why not them, instead of being grateful for the ones that were included. The excludes felt random, and it also lost some of the identity that these games usually take on through their exclusive offerings. Kanto was barely touched, and that's what needed improvement the most. One more trade and 2 new low-effort trainers is not enough improvement. The Battle Tower, for one, should have been located there, same as the Move Tutor, and they could have buffed most of the trainers and/or added more. You cannot play Pokemon Crystal on an original Game Boy or Game Boy Pocket. This downside is not going to matter to anyone in 2024 and beyond, but it was an issue back then. Changing the hardware requirement halfway through a Pokemon generation is a hostile choice to the users. I'm not sure what the install base was for each Game Boy model in 2001, but I'm sure more than a few Game Boy owners were left in the cold here. It's easy to have this attitude of, get with the times, Grandpa! But the reality is, many will lack the availability or economic means to upgrade their systems so freely. As an iPhone developer, I often had to have this conversation. The company would want to drop support for iOS 12, for example, and I had to point out that, sure, that may only be 2% of our user base, but that still represents thousands of people who won't be allowed to get our updates anymore. Lastly, and this is just a trade-off they made on purpose, the legendary birds are useless given how late you get them. In Gold, I was actually pleased with how soon you can catch Ho-Oh since it was usable for the Elite Four, but level 60 birds just don't do much in the campaign. So, is Crystal version worth playing if you've played Gold or Silver already? In 2001 terms, I'm going to say no. It added very little compelling content. The cosmetic differences, the animated sprites, and a few new tile sets are obviously not worth buying a separate game. But what about in 2024 terms? Well, the evolution stones coming sooner and the more relaxed availability of many Pokemon that were gatekept super late in Gold and Silver make it a little easier to put together your favorite team. And if you're going to patiently collect and respond to phone number exchanges, that system does add meaningful depth over Gold and Silver. So sure, nowadays, unless you absolutely insist on catching a Ho-Oh-Huno's Sacred Fire, which only comes in Gold version, you may as well play Pokemon Crystal. Please do subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this video. I have many more like it, and I'm going to keep on making more. Thank you so much to everyone who watched this far as well. Thank you to my patrons for keeping my channel alive through the slower months too. I'm grateful for all of your support, and I have some new behind-the-scenes videos going up soon if you would like to add your support and check those out over on Patreon. Would love to catch you on Twitch and in my Discord as well. Aside from the self-promo, we have spooky season coming up, so don't be surprised if we get some horror-leaning content in the next few months. As soon as I figure out what will not alienate all of you, I'm on it, so get ready. That's about it. Hasta la pasta, baby.